by Mrs. Jocelyn Williamson, who is the co-founder of the Central Florida Free Thought Community, whose mission is to be an effective advocate for state church separation by uniting local free thinkers in practical activism. Ms. Williamson also serves on the board of the Florida Humanist Association. She created the Science League for Kids, which is a program that focuses on different aspects of science and encourages kids to explore their environments. She's a graduate of the University of Central Florida and was lucky to live and work in Urayasu, which happens to be Orlando's sister city in Japan, as well as in Cyprus and Denmark, and obtained an MBA along the way. She's had an interesting and varied career and is currently an online college instructor. Her hobbies include, Commissioner Stewart, growing edible plants such as blueberries, peaches, grapes, olives, figs, and nectarines, and she recently got a beehive.
Please come help me.
And is excited about the possibility of harvesting honey, and I bring that out because one of the proclamations that we are doing today at the urging of Commissioner Stewart is declaring Florida Native Plant Month for this month. So how appropriate that you're here for that.
Yes.
Right? So after Ms. Williamson's remarks, we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Ings, and you may stand or remain seated, your choice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, citizens. Let us take this moment before we begin to pause and reflect on why we have come together. Sometimes it seems that we're inundated with bad news on a daily basis with tragedies around the globe. Our news feeds can feel as if they're filled with sadness, and life can seem too busy as we hustle to barely keep up with it all. Let us remember that these events are truly only a small fragment of what is happening in our world. Just consider that which you contemplate today, where we see an outpouring of love for our community, the Pride Parade, the Mile Walk for a Cure for Down Syndrome, the art exhibition for breast cancer, and the proclamation to recognize that native plants are an important part of providing a better environment, not just for our native animals, but for us as well. So let your hearts be filled with hope as we plan for a brighter future. Life's fulfillment emerges from individual participation in the service of humane ideals. That is what brings us here today. We are working together to the benefit of the society, which we want to see for ourselves and our children. Today, we leave our busy schedules outside for just a little while. During this meeting, let us remember to be concerned for the well-being of all among us, to use reason to guide our debate, to be committed to the diversity with which we thrive, and to respect all those of differing views. For without disagreement, we may not learn from one another. The City Beautiful presents many challenges to its leaders, but none which are too great for us to meet together. Everyone brings unique abilities with them to help solve the problems at hand, and all the knowledge we need is right here in this room. No matter what work lies ahead, let's remember the words of the great Arnold Palmer. He was our king even before Orlando had a castle. He said, "The most rewarding things you can do in life are often the ones that look like they cannot be done." Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Every week.
Okay, Madam Clerk, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz. Here. Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Ings.
Here.
Mayor Dyer.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's take up for consideration the meeting minutes of the agenda review and city council meetings of September 15th, as well as the first budget hearing meetings. That was a 501 meeting on September 15th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, we are right into awards and presentations, but before we get there, There's a handsome group of students that are here from Valencia Community College, and they are part of a government class whose professor requires them to come to a public meeting, and they have chosen the City of Orlando City Council meeting today. And I think they have to stay for the whole meeting, and they didn't really realize this was going to be a 7-hour meeting. I appreciate the fact that you guys came to this meeting. Why don't you guys all stand up and let us recognize you? Thank you for being here. And
Wouldn't have anybody without
okay,
them.
back with Frank Billingsley is a young man named Chris Durant, and Chris is shadowing Frank and I today, Frank and me today. And you want to stand up too? He's a sophomore at Victory Christian Academy, which is over on Ivy Lane, and the jacket and tie he has on are their school uniform that he wears, or something similar to that, every day. So thank you for being with us as well, Chris. Anybody else want to be recognized? Okay, then let's move into awards, presentations, and recognitions. And as promised, we're going to recognize Florida Native Plant Month, and I'm going to give Commissioner Stewart the honors of explaining that.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate it. And thank you, Commissioner, for proclaiming October as Native Plant Month. A special thank you to the members of society who've joined us today. Mark Catelli, Casey Salvino, Catherine Bowman, and Corstina Wild. So I appreciate y'all being here today. And Mayor, I'd love to have us all take a photograph with them. And I'll turn it back over to you to read the proclamation.
Okay. Celebrating Florida Native Plant Month. Whereas the Florida Native Plant Society began in the summer of 1980 in Winter Park by a group of scientists, educators, and conservationists concerned about the loss of Florida's native plants and the introduction of non-native species overtaking natural areas. And whereas the mission of the Florida Native Plant Society is the preservation, conservation, and restoration of native plants and native plant communities. And whereas the society now consists of 37 chapters and 3,500 members from all walks of life who volunteer their time, knowledge, and skills. And whereas Orlando has an incredible wealth of natural areas to showcase Florida's native plants and native plant communities. And whereas the Florida Native Plant Society's Tar Flower chapter, encompassing the greater Orlando area, is an important part of bringing the Orange County community together through field trips, volunteer efforts, and the annual Backyard Biodiversity Day. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Buddy Dyer, Mayor of the City of Orlando, and Robert F. Stewart, District 3 City Commissioner, hereby do proclaim October 2016 as Florida Native Plant Month in the City of Orlando. Would you like to join me and take a picture?
Yeah, let's everybody come down, because it's our whole city. Y'all come on down. And somebody teach me how to grow okra, and I'll be fine.
Can we stand?
Why don't you guys stand up here?
We'll say that's a good idea. So I don't know.
Thank you. Yep. Stand in the middle. Yeah.
All right.
All right, the next one is recognizing our Dueling Dragons Cops and Kids Dragon Boat team, Lisa Early and Chief Mina. Could you come up and do the honors here?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So I'm going to be brief because we have a couple of people speaking, and then I'm going to hand over the microphone to my colleague, Chief Mina, who will talk about the importance of this program, and then introduce Ms. Andrea Eliscu to my left, who is an amazing force to be reckoned with. But before I hand it off, I want to thank Andrea, who is the most tenacious woman I have ever met in my life. She has been the force behind this amazing program, which has opened the doors of opportunity to more than 100 of our city teenagers over the past 6 seasons, many of whom come from the city's Rosemont Community Center and the Paramore Kids Zone program. So before I hand it over, I just want to thank my staff who have really stepped up to the plate to help Andrea get this program running. In particular, Renee Jackson, who very humbly sits there, who has been the one to manage all the oodles of money that Andrea so copiously raises every year for this program through our nonprofit organization, the Orlando Community and Youth Trust. And then I see Brenda Scott there, Leo Stoney, and Marvin Peoples, who are the staff who bring the kids there, who go on the trips, who make sure the parents sign all their forms, who even got passports for the kids when this huge group had to go to Canada one year for this program. So thank you to the FPR staff who participated for making us so proud. So on that note, I am going to hand this over to my colleague and partner in crime prevention, Chief John Mean.
All right.
All right. Well, good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. You know, I'm extremely proud of the Orlando Police Department for its community engagement and continuing efforts, especially with our youth. And I don't have to tell you, it's not a secret that relations in some communities with our police have, to say the least, been a little strained. And this program should be a model for all law enforcement agencies across the United States to help police officers and kids from their neighborhoods break down barriers, break down those stereotypes, and build trust between our youth and our police. And Andrea will talk about it more, but the secret to the success of this program is the cops and the kids are together working for a common goal. So all those barriers are broken down. There's no uniforms or gun belts or anything like that. So there's all this time to build trust and to mentor our youth. So at this time, I'll hand it over to Andrea, and I would also like to say thank you for her hard work and determination, and without her, this program wouldn't have been possible. Andrea?
Commissioners, and especially Commissioner Stewart, who oversees Lake Fairview where we do this, and Commissioner Hill, both of who have fiscally helped us back when we weren't quite as strong as we are now, but I still need help. The season's ending and then it starts. So it seems that every week there's a new headline about an incident between law enforcement and the African American community. And the shooting in Charlotte is just another one in the long list. And then the subsequent reactions and rhetoric tear apart the fabric of our United States. And then it deepens the divides in our neighborhoods and in the cities that we call home. And that's why I want to tell you about Orlando, because we're writing a different story here. And it's one that is supported by Chief Mina and Mayor Dyer, who's been there from the beginning, and a tremendous amount of community donors, because everything we do is fundraised. We have no other money. It's a story about cops and kids that are working together, not on the streets, but in the water, away from distractions, learning something new together. You know, there's something bonding in learning, and seeing each other in totally new ways. It's a story for us about breaking down racial barriers, really coming to understand teamwork, mentoring, changing stereotypes, building trust, and relationships that ultimately improve the lives of our inner city kids, and I would have to say, Chief, also some of our police officers. It's the story of our dueling dragons. So today I'm going to show you a very brief video that is the recap of the trip that we just fundraised for. We went to Colorado Springs. We are in the 8th month of a 10-month program. So it's not a one day, it's 10 months of cops and kids coming together to paddle together in a boat. I want you to note when you see the video, the T-shirts, because belonging to something, it's very important. And these kids wearing their shirts belong. Of course, we also put their names on the back so they can't. It's like, I saw you and it's you, it's not your buddy. And then after the video, I've asked Adrian Welcome to come. Adrian has 2 teenage sons that both are a part of our program, and I thought you ought to hear from a mom, a very involved mom of one of our kids. And my helper, Officer Richard Bailey. He told me what to do, but he'll do it. So our one team took gold, and the second team was a half a second behind the gold medal team. And we don't do it to win medals. We do it for the other things, but when we're doing the other things, guess what happens? So we have a few of our officers that are on the team while Mrs. Welcome comes up, and also our wonderful Chris Durant, who's been on the team for 3 years, is sitting over there, and I didn't know Chris would be here.
Good afternoon, commissioners, mayor, and everyone in attendance. I am the mama of 3 sons, 2 of whom are on the Dueling Dragons team. And I cannot speak highly enough about the program that Andrea has put together. They continue to offer positive relationships with the cops and the kids. Just 2 weeks ago, my oldest son, Vion, who is a student at Edgewater, he called and asked me if he could call one of the officers, a white officer, might I add. And he said, I just want to talk to him. I just want to hang out, maybe. And instead of the officer calling him, he came by, he and his partner came by and got him and took him to dinner. And they just hung out for a few hours. And when Vion came back home, he was just beaming with joy. It did a lot for his morale. Last year, Officer Paul told me that occasionally he'll see Vion walk into the store before band practice, and he wants to stop and say hi, but he doesn't want it to be weird for his friends and for him. So I told Vion about it, and he said, no, I want my friends to see who I know. I want them to know that I know Officer Dave or Officer Rodney on a first-name basis. He said, that's positive. I don't deal with negativity. And so it does a lot of positive things for them. I think it's a pretty awesome response coming from a black teenager. Dueling Dragons continues to bridge the gap between our officers, the kids, and all the community. And it's a process, but if we all stay involved, it can be done.
So we're going to ask all of the participants, the officers, everybody to come up for a photo. Renee, everybody, and Chris as well. Thank you.
Yep, that's me.
Okay, Chief's back up for Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Good afternoon again, Mayor and Commissioners. Our citizens have a list of things that they want their police departments to be best at, and one of those things I think we can all agree on would have to be we want to be the best at our response and awareness about domestic violence. We are proud to have been a model agency nationwide in our victim-focused response, especially with our domestic violence response team. This innovative response has also been recognized by the Orange County Commission on Domestic Violence and Child Abuse as the best practice to be adopted by all local law enforcement agencies. The Orlando Police Department participates in Domestic Violence Task Force, the Fatality Review Board, and the Commission on Domestic Violence and Child Abuse. And the Orlando Police Department works tirelessly to keep Orlando a safe city by reducing crime and maintaining livable neighborhoods. And none of this would be possible without the invaluable service of the victim services partners that we have here with us today. So Mayor Dyer, will you read the proclamation?
Thank you, Chief. City of Orlando proclamation, whereas 1 in every 4 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime, and whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and domestic abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law, and whereas fleeing domestic violence has caused women and children to be the fastest growing homeless population, and whereas powerful partnerships exist locally between the City of Orlando Police Department, Harbor House of Central Florida, the State of Florida Department of Children and Families, the Howard Phillips Center for Children and Families, and the Victim Service Center of Central Florida. And whereas the President of the United States and Congress, as well as other federal agencies, have expressed a commitment to eliminating domestic violence, both nationally and internationally. Now, therefore, I, Buddy Dyer, Mayor of the City of Orlando, hereby do proclaim October 2016 as Domestic Violence Month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Orlando in recognition of the important work done by domestic violence programs and victim service providers.
Absolutely. If we could get all our victim service providers to come on up. I saw Lee Damiani, Marie Martinez, all the folks from Harbor House. Come on up.
Okay, I think the next one, Marcia, we're doing 2 in 1, right? All right, why don't you come up and introduce them?
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Good afternoon, commissioners, and everyone who's joined us today. October is a month dedicated to mental health and mental illness awareness, and we are fortunate here in Central Florida and in Orlando to have very strong community leadership in this very important area. Today, the mayor and the city council will present 2 proclamations. One to the Mental Health Association of Central Florida, led by Candy Crawford, and one to the local chapter of the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, represented by Eric Welch. Today, rather than have two proclamations read, we're going to mix it up just a little and ask our two subject matter experts, Eric and Candy, to briefly address the importance of the work their agencies are doing in our community. So Candy and Eric, please come to the podium and say a few words. Then Mayor Dyer, if you would present the proclamation before we take a photo. Candy?
Thank you. We're really proud to be here today for several reasons. One is that we're so proud of our city and the leadership you've provided in times of real distress. And so we just want to thank you for declaring the week of October 2nd through the 8th as Mental Health Awareness Week. I want to share just a couple of things with you. Neuroscientist David Eagleman wrote in his book that 1 square centimeter of the brain has as many connections as there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. 1 square centimeter. That makes the brain the most complex organ in the known universe. Think about that. Bruce Springsteen, Jim Carrey, Demi Lovato, Gwyneth Paltrow, Lady Gaga, John Hamm, Brandon Marshall. These are all just a few of the celebrities and sports figures that are now discussing openly their challenge with mental illness. Every time somebody of notoriety speaks up, it saves a life. Every time someone can tell you about their illness, it can save a life. Every time you respond with the same compassion as if they had just told you they had a heart condition, it could save a life. Because we know that one of the challenges for most people is the stigma. 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health issue in their lifetime. Many will be completely cured. Many will be successful and happy and live a full life managing their illness, similar to sugar diabetes. But we still have 66,000 people in the state of Florida with serious mental illness that have no access to services. Because Florida government is 50th in the nation in funding mental health. Because of this fact, contributed to our decision to establish a new counseling program for anyone that was affected by the terrible tragedies that happened the weekend of June 12th. And we do this at no charge, and it's a 3 to 10 year program for these individuals. Since 1948, we've been fighting for the rights of everyone to have mental health. So we want to thank you from the Board of Directors of the Mental Health Association, our staff, and our volunteers. We want to thank you for noticing and appreciating what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. I'm going to be extremely brief here. Words such as loony, wacko, nutcase, they're not only hurtful, they're simply not true. At NAMI Greater Orlando, we urge you to see the person and not the illness. We are dedicated to ending the stigma and improving the quality of life for the 1 in 5 individuals whose lives are affected by mental illness. So on behalf of the thousands of Central Floridians and their families that are annually reached through NAMI's educational classes, support groups, and advocacy efforts, I want to thank you for dedicating the first week of October as Mental Illness Awareness Week. Thank you.
And I do have 2 proclamations, one declaring the first week of October 2016 as Mental Health Awareness Week, and the other declaring the same week as Mental Illness Awareness Week in the city of Orlando. Okay, so that brings us to the mayor's update. And Commissioners, it's with great sadness that we acknowledge that golfing legend Arnold Palmer passed away yesterday. As you know, he was not only one of the greatest golfers of all time, but also a very generous man who gave so much to charitable causes in our community. I am so proud that he will live on in Orlando and people's lives that he touched, and through the great legacy that he leads. I'd like to honor him now with just a moment of silence. Thank you. His family and friends will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. Congratulations to Orange County Public Schools, their school board, who last week passed a motion to make hands-only CPR a high school graduation requirement. How about that? Orange County Public Schools are the third school board in Florida to make this part of their high school succession plan. This vote helps further our efforts through Take Heart Orlando to make Orlando a community where every citizen has the knowledge, skills, and ability to recognize and treat sudden cardiac arrest. And Chief, you said you'll be out training next week, is it? Thursday. So 35,000 Orange County Public School students will learn hands-only CPR, and that is going to allow the chief to achieve the goal that I gave him in terms of numbers of people trained this year. So congratulations, Chief. Wednesday, October 5th at 3:30 is the annual State of the Downtown Address hosted by the Downtown Orlando Partnership, and this year we're going to be at Bob Carr. You can hear the city's latest comprehensive visioning process for our continued revitalization of downtown. It is a fundraiser for the DOP, so to purchase tickets or more information, visit doporlando.com. And for those who can't attend, we will be streaming the speech live on the city's website. Come Out with Pride. The City of Orlando will host the Come Out with Pride Parade on Saturday, October 8th at 4 p.m. in Lake Eola Park. And we anticipate more than 140,000 people in our city to celebrate that Orlando is a welcoming and inclusive city that embraces diversity. Our city family and city commissioners will walk in the parade with a message of solidarity and unity following the Pulse tragedy. Come Out with Pride includes numerous activities, including entertainment, fireworks, and more, and I hope you will join us. There's going to be a lot going on October the 8th, from Garth Brooks to Come Out with Pride, and we are looking at the potential for Sunrail service for that Saturday from noon to midnight, so a little bit more on that later this week. I want to highlight one item and on the agenda, and that is ordinances first read number 2. And being a city from everyone, we want to give our residents the programs and amenities that they need and want. And Commissioner Sheehan, that includes our innovative urban chicken program, which allows residents to keep chickens in their backyards. We started the pilot back in 2012 and we have 64 households in districts 3, 4, 5, and 6 participating, and today we will be voting to expand the program and diversifying our local food economy. With that, we will move on to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is a number of items that are voted on, acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our council members an opportunity to comment on the consent agenda, as well as update you generally with important items from their districts. We rotate the order we do that, and leading off today is Commissioner Samuel Ings.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that this past Saturday I did attend the funeral of Reverend James D. Johnson, and that's our permitting division manager, Tim Johnson's father, in Gainesville. And I did see Commissioner Gray there as well. And also that same Saturday, I traveled to Tifton, Georgia, to see the screening of Terrence Tykem's Touched, the film, and it was presented by Parent and Advocate Coalition of Tift County. Yolanda Ings Powell was the coordinator. She actually saw that movie here in Orlando, and brought it to Tifton, and it was a great event there. And I also brought greetings on behalf of the city of Orlando while being there. This was held at the Tiff Theater for the Performing Arts in Tifton, Georgia. And that Sunday, I attended and read a proclamation, presented a proclamation at the Gracious Christmas Cantata that was held at the Chapin Theater at the Orange County Convention Center. Last year, it was in Orlando at the Bob Carr, and this is a great event. I would encourage everybody to attend. As a matter of fact, I sponsored about 50 of our residents, provided a bus, and others came in vehicles to attend this event, and they were really thrilled by the pageantry of the event and the costuming of the event, and the choir, the singing. I also attended the Jones High School Historical Society. It was being presided by Walter Hawkins there at Jones High School with the principal and other members of the Historical Society. Mr. Howard Gentry of the Young Blacks in Action was placed in the Jones High School Museum, and I presented the photo of Mr. Howard Gentry to be placed in the school museum. And then on Friday, I attended the Circuit 9 Faith Forum held at the Holden Heights Community Center. The Florida Department of Juvenile Justice was on hand. This was a great event. They're looking for all kinds of opportunities to help and serve our young people that are in the juvenile justice system and reaching out into the community. So we did have a lot of support, and especially of Kathy Lake, the executive director of the Juvenile Justice Regional Center here in Orlando and Osceola County, and a couple other counties as well. And then also I attended the St. Jude Walk Run to End Childhood Cancer that was held at Fun Spot at 5700 Fun Spot Way, Orlando, Florida. John Airy Jr. And Vanessa Eccles with Channel 9, and also Emily Parker with St. Jude. This was a great event. They had plenty of walkers, very well attended, and this is an annual event as well, and we always look forward to helping St. Jude, and they're doing a tremendous job in taking care of our young people. And also, I co-sponsored a celebration of recovery with Cora Miles Jefferson, and this was held at the Smith Center. Topics included new medication for addiction and heroin, mental health, human trafficking, and family resources. So this was a very well-attended event, too. And also hosted and co-sponsored the anti-violence rally that was held by Miss Patricia Davis. Her grandson was kidnapped, killed, burned, died. This was 4 years ago. They still have not solved his particular murder. And there were other attendees that were present at this event that had lost family members to violence and are looking for cases to be solved. So this was a very well-attended event, and specifically from the community. And then also the NAACP Youth Council meeting that was held at the Dr. James R. Smith Center. I sponsored that. This is an opportunity for our young people to become leaders in our community, and they are doing a great job with that. And with that, Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I tried to make it short and sweet.
Commissioner Gray?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to extend my welcome to the Valencia College students. Thanks for joining us. I have one item on item C2. I said in agenda review I've got a conflict on the HPB, and I filed the paperwork with the clerk, so I'll be abstaining on the HPB item C2.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tony Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. First, my condolences to Tim Johnson and his family on the loss of their father. Our prayers are with you, Tim. September 17th, Saturday, we had a great coastal cleanup at La Costa Urban Wetlands, and I want to thank, there's Chris Castro going, hoorah. Judy Boyes and her team, they did a great job. Susan Harris, what a wonderful woman. Where is she? She does such a great job for our city. And the children from Good Shepherd Catholic Church were there, and some other neighbors. So thank you so much. The wetlands are looking really, really good. This past Saturday, September 24th, the Restore Unity Walk took place from Lake Underhill and Cimarron Boulevard to the Englewood Community Center. The walk was initiated by Chaplain William Ramos, and I want to thank Deputy Chief Rolón for his assistance. And of course, my liaison officer, Officer Sayas, doing a great job, and thank you for reading the proclamation for us. Of course, we have the duty to inform our community about the good thing and the bad thing, so I want to offer my condolences to the Gators because they lost against Tennessee. And of course, my hoorah to UCF for the great win. Thank you.
Commissioner Stewart.
So you want to go there?
A number of us are Gators up here. Commissioner Ortiz is not one.
UCF.
Oh, my. My thanks to the Valencia students. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate that. Let me also express my condolences for a few others that, besides Arnold Palmer, who's had an incredible impact on our community. Let me also share Father John McCormick's, his passing a few, I guess probably 10 days ago. Father McCormick was the senior rector at St. James Cathedral, a very dear friend of mine, and had passed away as a result of acute leukemia. His vigil is this evening. The mass, the burial mass is tomorrow evening, and then the burial here locally at San Pedro's on Wednesday. He will be missed, and one of those silent leaders that had an incredible impact on our community. Thanks to our Bishop Moore sophomore class for volunteering this Thursday to clean up and green up at Trotters Park. We appreciate that. A couple of quick updates. For all of our seniors, please join us at please join our Orlando Police Department tomorrow at the College Park Community Center from 11 to 12:30 for our Senior Safety Summit and learn how we can provide crime prevention tips specifically geared towards our greatest generation. October 7th is also the Edgewater High School Homecoming Parade. Starts at 4 o'clock and we'll end up at the stadium for an evening of the game. And if it's weather is fine, then come on over to Lou Gardens at 7:30 that evening for a movie on the M is for Murder. I'm hoping everything's going to be cooled off by then. And then, as I mentioned, Mayor, I've got an abstention I'll declare when the CRA comes forward. So I'll say thank you very much.
Move on to District 4, Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor, and I too would like to recognize the Valencia students. And I went to community college. I worked myself through school full time, so there is hope. You can finish. I went to UCF afterwards, so good job, community college students. And if you have to work full time, I did too. So you're going to make it, and you might end up on city council someday, or even a better job. You never know. So thanks for being here today. On the agenda today, the Columbia Street improvements, item B2, that's bus, rapid transit lane, sidewalks throughout Orlando Health, lighting and landscaping, so that's really good improvements coming to Orlando Health. Want to thank the staff for that. And ordinances, first reading number 2, finally a citywide backyard chicken keeping. So thank you for my colleagues coming on board with that. Again, it's just 100 households, but it's been a great amenity for people who want to avail themselves of it. And I'm happy to see that we're doing this part as the urban agriculture. And I still have 2 of my 4 girls, so I mean we're Peep and Sally are still doing well. Cheap and Bleep, they got adopted out. They are now eating bugs on a farm. They only lay eggs for so long. So the girls did go to a farm, but again, I have my girls for egg production. They're working girls. So again, there is a way to, indeed. Just a couple of other things. Again, the loss of Arnold Palmer. We hear so much about sports figures and their bad behavior. Mr. Palmer was a gentleman and a philanthropist, and he will really be missed. I wish they still made him that way because he was a really, really great guy. And in Lake Eola Heights this weekend, we did the community garden for the Mayor's Neighborhood Matching Grant. Ian Jerkinson worked really, really hard, and that's one of the largest community gardens in the city. And I'm approaching being the queen of community gardens because I think
I doubt that.
I'm getting close. I think I got the most. I'm just saying. But we're doing really well with the gardens. People really enjoy them. It's a wonderful way to bring. You had the first, but I'm getting there, Commish. Yeah. But it's just a wonderful way to bring people together. And the 23 plots that were in the garden are already all gone, and now we're moving on to Lake Druid. So again, this is a tremendously popular program. Yeah. So, thanks, Commissioners, for your support, and thank you, Mayor, for the funding for the Mayor's Neighborhood Matching Grant Program. It's been very positive.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on to District 5, Commissioner Hill.
That's what you call healthy competition, literally.
It's all good?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. On September 16th in Rotunda, I, along with the World Financial Group, first of all, let me rewind. I also send my condolences out to Tim Johnson and his family. And Valencia, thank you for being here, because if you wasn't here, we'll just be talking to staff. You filled the gallery up for us, so thank you. On September 16th, in the Rotunda, I, along with the World Financial Group, hosted a Women in Wealth Economic Empowerment Summit. It was well attended, where women was understanding how money works and how to live life to the fullest with it. But as we stated with rest in peace Arnold Palmer, is that real wealth building isn't really for yourself, it's what you do for others with your resources. And that's one of the things that I spoke with them about. On Saturday, September the 17th, the Church of Christ of West Orlando also held a community day and health fair at Harold Marston there in the Mercy Drive corner, and they had free health screenings, and it was well attended. Also, keeping in theme with health, I traveled over to the Rosen Plaza that very evening and spent some hours with our Central Florida Black Nurses Association. It was their 32nd annual scholarship and awards luncheon, where they were raising funds for our minority nursing students, which many will attend community colleges here in the Central Florida area. Finally, in this past week on Thursday, I traveled to Dallas, Texas, Chief, where I think many of you know that I'm on the Public Safety and Crime Prevention Committee for the National League of Cities. And we were addressing 21st century policing, where we were putting resolutions together to submit to Congress regarding weapon and ammunition control, youth and gang violence, wood crime prevention, citizen, domestic violence, substance abuse, more so concentrated on opiates, prison reentry, mental illness and criminal justice, terrorism and disaster response, prison reentry, and municipal foreign policy and funding. And when I got there and we were putting these resolutions together with 40 other elected officials throughout the nation, what I found, Mayor, is that with your leadership and Chief Mina's leadership, we're already implementing the things that we're sending to Congress, because we're a proactive city. And I was able to be a valuable member on that board by telling them about the great practices that we are already implementing here in Orlando. And they were very interested and thankful for it. And we were able to put some of those practices that we're currently doing into resolution to send to Congress. I also was able to meet with the first responders there in Dallas and the current police chief. I told them about how we did a moment of silence and our prayers are still with them. I told them also, Commissioner Ortiz, and I have the information about, they were talking about minority recruiting and recruiting period there with the police chief. And I told them about the program that yourself, the mayor, and Chief Mina, and Chief Williams, along with OCPS in Valencia, had just implemented and signed a few weeks ago. And the chief of police is very interested there in Dallas to speak with you and other chiefs on how to implement that program. He's very interested in that. So thank you, Mayor, and Chief Mina and Chief Williams for being a very progressive leadership here in the city because, as Chief stated earlier, people are modeling their initiatives behind Orlando. So I was very proud to, I almost got embarrassed because I kept saying, well, we're doing that already. We're doing that already. I had to settle down before they thought that I was being cocky. Of course, it was extremely busy there in District 5. Tonight, because of staff, and I thank staff, I know Mayor is a priority of yours, just like housing with homelessness is increasing the affordable housing stock in Paramore and in the west side of Orlando. And I'm very excited that tonight we'll be presenting our new housing piece there in the Paramore area, which the mayor, myself, and staff have been working on for the last 2 years, and we'll be rolling that out, and it'll be called Paramore Oaks. It'll be at the old Paramore Village site. Invictus will be there this evening getting community input. Of course, the community input is very important to us here at the city, so I invite anyone to come out that want to know more about this phenomenal project, the first of many of affordable and mixed income and workforce housing in Paramore. So, I mean, that's a check on my box. It's been very important, and I'm just ecstatic to see that housing piece moving forward. Also, we'll be doing a community cleanup there in the Sunset area on October the 1st over near a major affordable housing piece that's being implemented there in the Orange Center area under Commissioner Eames. But I also want to speak about this afternoon. I was traveled down to the Mercy Drive corner, and we have a transitional center for those that are re-entering society from prison that's been there for 35 years called the Bridges of America, which is an organization and a church organization also that offers wraparound services and housing jobs to those that are not quite out of the prison or correction system, but they are transitioning. And the state of Florida Correction Office is threatening to defund them and put them back behind the walls. So myself, along with Representative Mike Miller, Representative Torres, Representative Bracey, Representative Enslow, and County Commissioner Nelson went out to stand up with the Bridges of America to let the Department of Corrections know that even as Republicans and Democrats, we're standing together because we think this program is so important to our community. What it does is bridge families back together. It addresses all these things that the resolutions that we're talking about 21st century policing, when we're talking about sentencing, when we're talking about substance abuse, when we're talking about domestic violence, when we're talking about mental health illness. Those programs are there to not just restore people back into the community, but restore the broken man. So I do want you all to, if you can, to email, call the Department of Corrections, and let them know that that program over in District 5, Mercy Drive, the bridges that many men are going through. There were so many great testimonies of men now coming home and being great fathers, being great husbands, being great sons, starting businesses, and not re-entering back into the penal system, which costs us more when you look at it, versus, so I think what they call it, Commissioner, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So with that said, and I thank those representatives in on state level and here in the county that stood with me today on that very important cause. And I'm finished, Mayor.
Did you move the consent agenda, Commissioner?
I motion to move the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, if there's no objection, I'm going to recess this meeting and call the CRA meeting to order. First order of business is approving minutes, CRA minutes from August 29th.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2, Thomas Downtown Streetscape Matching Grant for 250 North Orange Avenue.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. As the Mayor said, item number 2 is the is the Downtown Streetscape Matching Grant for 250 North Orange Avenue. There's a few slides for you just to show that the new owners at 250 North Orange Avenue are going through an extensive renovation of what is the oldest high-rise building in downtown, formerly known, most recently, I guess, as the Southern Bank Building. This is looking at it above the Orange Avenue. Again, looking at it from Orange Avenue. They're renovating inside the exterior as well, and they've also agreed, as you'll see in a moment, to update the public right-of-way, or to improve the public right-of-way, and to do that in a fashion that is consistent with the Downtown Streetscape Design Guidelines for the Downtown Development Board. Because of that, there's a program that allows us to, with your approval, reimburse up to 50% of certain costs associated with that work. You can see here some of the new work they're doing, the colonnade, and up to the top left, you see some of the streetscape work rendered. And I think they have some before and after. You see the condition of the streetscape before. A lot of cracks, a lot of trip and falls, undersized tree wells. Again, undersized tree wells and things not spaced properly. And you see what the after effect is there, much nicer with the Lawrenceville brick and the new concrete work, and it's much cleaner. And the trees you see to the right. So it's overall a big improvement. The program is long-standing to allow reimbursement of up to 50% of associated costs or approved costs. However, it's an obsolete program, and in this case, there are certain costs that had not been identified in the program historically that the staff has felt that would be appropriate to include, including the cost of demolishing the existing sidewalk, including the cost of putting a sub-base underneath the new sidewalk, which is very desirable, including the cost of general conditions to contractors, which is, of course, very, very consistent with the norm in that industry these days, and several others, MOT program as well. So the CRA Advisory Board has recommended approval, Mayor, and unless there are any questions from Council, staff is requesting CRA approval of demolition of existing sidewalks, driveways, trees, and related streetscape, installation of sub-base for new streetscape, approved general conditions, temporary walks, fencing, and MOT costs as expenses eligible for reimbursement under the CRA's streetscape cost-sharing program, and approval of the agreement with Sentinel Capital North Orange, LLC, providing funding of up to $86,697.75 toward the cost of such streetscape project pursuant to and contingent upon the terms of the agreement, and authorization for the chair and the executive director to execute the agreement subject to review and approval of the city attorney's office.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And number 3, Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 3 is approving a homeless outreach funding agreement. You'll recall that this is an annual agreement that makes it possible for us to keep our 2 full-time homeless outreach coordinators on the streets of downtown Orlando. It's a tri-party agreement. Total cost for salaries and benefits for these 2 coordinators is just over $100,000, with $61,000 being approved from CRA funds, another $35,000 coming from Homeless Services Network, HSN, with the balance coming from HCCH. The coordinators are now coordinated or managed, I should say, by HCCH as part of their HOPE team, and I don't have to remind you that they are part of our first line of response, if you will, toward identifying individuals for public permanent supportive housing and otherwise.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Commissioner Stewart.
Yeah, Mayor, as I mentioned earlier, I need to read this into the record and then share this with the clerk. The CRA item number 3 concerning the homeless outreach funding agreement, provide $61,050 to help with 2 outreach coordinators, plus the fund's administrative costs. Part of those costs pay for the rent of the office space utilized by the coordinators. That office space is housed at the Christian Service Center, the Christian Central Florida, which I'm executive director. None of the funds are used for general operational costs, however, and in my role, I'm abstaining from today's vote to avoid any perception of conflict. I've completed the information and I've sent it to the clerk.
Thank you, Commissioner. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Further business come before the CRA, Thomas?
There's none, Mayor. Thank you.
Then without objection, we'll adjourn the CRA meeting, reconvene the City Council meeting. That brings us to hearings. Number 1, which is the Fifth Amendment to the Fourth Amended and Restated Development Order for Lake Nona Development of Regional Impact. That's a District 1 issue. Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner?
I would, sir. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public? I will open this to the public for a hearing. Anyone from the public want to comment? No cards, Madam Clerk. Then we'll close the hearing. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Hearings, ordinances, first read. Madam Clerk, you're up.
Ordinance 2016-61. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the development and use of land, amending Section 62.498 of the Land Development Code to extend the boundary of the Conway Road Special Plan Overlay District, providing for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Commissioners, you realize this proposed ordinance will change the list of permitted land uses in the special plan district and is being initiated by the city. State law requires that we hold 2 advertised public hearings, with one of those hearings being held after 5 o'clock, unless by a supermajority vote we decide to hold the next hearing at our normal meeting of 2 o'clock. Staff recommends that we hold the next hearing at our regular meeting time. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz to have second reading of this ordinance at our next 2 o'clock meeting. Second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 2, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry, we're moving to second read, number 1.
Ordinance 2016-70. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for a portion of approximately 1.75 acre development site generally located north of West Murrell Street, east of South Lucerne Terrace, south of West Harding Street, and west of South Orange Avenue for residential medium intensity to mixed-use corridor medium intensity, further amending the growth management plan to remove a portion of the development site from the boundaries of sub-area policy S.12.1, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use in sub-area policy maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-72, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located west of North Westmoreland Drive, south of West Robinson Street, north of West Jefferson Street, and comprised of 0.53 acres of land, more or less, from the R2B1 to 5 family residential district with the traditional city and Paramore Heritage Overlay districts to the Planned Development District with the traditional city and Paramore Heritage Overlay districts, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the Planned Development District, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-77, an ordinance granting to Peoples Gas System, a division of Tampa Electric Company, its successors and assigns a non-exclusive natural gas franchise agreement to use the public rights-of-way of the City of Orlando, Florida, and prescribing the terms and conditions under which said franchise may be exercised, making findings and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-69, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to signs, amending Chapter 64 Orlando City Code to provide that certain privately owned certainly privately owned venues may qualify as a regional facility for purpose of sign code approval under Section 64.320 Orlando City Code, providing legislative findings and for severability, codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-75, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Plan Development and Zoning District regulations for the Lake Nona Plan Development, generally located north of the Orange-Osceola County line, south of Dowden Road, east of Boggy Creek Road, and west of Narcoossee Road, comprised of 6,969 acres, more or less, amending the Plan Development District's development standards, site plans, and conditions of development, directing amendment of the official zoning map series, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 6.
Ordinance 2016-34, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located east of Narcoossee Road, south of Kirby Smith Road, and west of Lake Whippoorwill, and comprised of 48.78 acres of land, more or less, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to designate the property as urban village in part and conservation in part of the city's official future land use maps, establishing a new sub-area policy for the same property to provide a maximum development program, required land development regulations, and inclusion in the Southeast Orlando Sector Plan, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing a lot split application, providing for consent to the municipal services taxing unit for Lake Whippoorwill, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Commissioners, this ordinance proposes to annex land on the east side of Narcoossee Road and also give the land a future land use map designation. And there's no outstanding substantive issues relating to this issue, but I asked Commissioner Gray to send out the statutory required notice to the county, and he failed to do so. Actually, staff failed to do so.
I knew I forgot something.
Okay, we messed up sending out one of the notices to the county, so we need to defer the second reading of this ordinance until October the 24th. So, Commissioners, is there a motion to defer this item until the 24th? Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Ortiz. All in favor of the motion to defer indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, that'll be heard at October 24th. Kyle or Amy or whoever sends those out, why don't we send a notice to the county about that? All right. The next ordinance on the agenda is the first ordinance on first read, and it is the companion zoning ordinance. And since this one is on its first reading, we can go ahead and hear this and then schedule the second reading to correspond with the new second reading date for the annexation and GMP ordinance. So, Madam Clerk, if you would read ordinances first read number 1.
Ordinance 2016-35. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located east of Narcoossee Road, south of Kirby Smith Road, and west of Lake Whippoorwill, and comprised of 48.78 acres of land, more or less, as the Plan Development District on the city's official zoning maps, providing a development plan, a trip equivalency matrix, and special land development regulations of the Plan Development District, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning maps, providing a disclaimer, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone for the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. All right, here we go. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2016-79, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to backyard chickens, establishing regulations for the issuance of backyard chicken permits and the keeping of backyard chickens, providing for civil penalties, providing for conflicts, and for severability, codifications, correction of Scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved, or as my girls would say, "Bach!"
All right, motion by Commissioner Sheehan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ings.
Mayor, Go ahead.
Commissioner Ings.
Yeah,
Hold on, let me see if there's any testimony. Any testimony?
No, sir.
Nope. Okay, Commissioner Ings and Commissioner Ortiz.
Yeah, I just want to say this is a very good ordinance, and it's written very well. And I like everything that really went into that ordinance. Dean, I know you were partly responsible for that, and the planning department. Brooke, thank you so very much. Commissioner Sheehan, thank you so very much for your leadership on that, too.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Commissioner. Here is a party pooper. Commissioner Sheehan, I know how important this is for you, and I congratulate you because I know this is going to pass. But I went back to my city, to my community leaders, and of course, the majority, actually, the community leaders unanimously, they didn't want this in the district, and that's why we stayed out of the pilot program for a while. We had some residents who have asked, how come I didn't go for it? And I said, you know what, doesn't make any difference with me. I grew up in a farm. I mean, I'm from the countryside of Puerto Rico, so I used to get up with a rooster in the morning. So that doesn't bother me at all. But I represent the people, and as such, I have to vote no on this particular one. So.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Hill.
Well, I just want to make sure that our code enforcement department know that we have some chickens roaming around in Paramore without homes. So just don't touch them until I can find some coops for them.
Well, Palmer's probably has coops, or the materials to build a coop, and they sell chickens as well. Okay, you know what, Commissioner Sheehan, to close.
Well, I'd just like to say that again, part of this was to do the backyard chicken keeping. Major cities throughout America have done this, everywhere from Honolulu, Hawaii, New York, Los Angeles, California. These are all cities who, not exactly bringing down the property values, let's say. And Williams-Sonoma, I think, sells a $1,000 chicken coop. So this is something that people enjoy doing. It's certainly something that I have enjoyed doing, even though a couple of my girls quit laying. But, again, there's lots of ways people will adopt spent hens. I had no idea, because people like them for bug control. Again, it's a wonderful opportunity for children to learn responsibility. Everyone that I work with just adores the program. Dennis Mudge has been with the Orange County Extension Service, has been amazing to work with. He does education, and it's just been a great program so far, and has not created any problems. Everybody who keeps them have more or less made them part of their family, really done some extravagant coops. It's really kind of a cool program. So again, thank you so much to staff. I know Jason Burton is still dealing with the applications and things. They were very gracious and very generous. And I know sometimes I bring you guys some crazy ideas, but it's a great program. And thank you, Mayor, for I haven't done this crazy since doggy dining, but I like to bring things that are kind of cool and fun. And this is certainly something that fits that bill. So thank you very much.
All right. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
All right, it passes 6-1. So that was the most interesting thing on our whole agenda, Valencia students. I apologize for that. This may be the second most boring meeting we've had in the last 10 years, but you should have been here when we decriminalized marijuana. That was a good meeting and brought out some interesting people, but I'm afraid that was the most interesting part of our entire meeting, was the backyard chicken thing, unless we have some interesting people at general appearance. So,
Yes, sir.
No general appearance?
What?
So would anybody from Valencia like to get up and just talk about anything?
Hour and 40 minutes.
We have to come back at 5:01 for budget, so.
Let's make them come back too.
No.
Nah.
Do that to them.
Thank you for being here, though, and seeing that sometimes the wheels of government aren't exciting, but we come and do the business of the city and pass a lot of the ordinances that were passed today were very important to people that are doing land development or other sorts of things. The consent agenda had a lot of items that are purchasing vehicles and different things that we need to keep our city government moving forward, so it's not always exciting. Occasionally it is, but today we just appreciate that you were here. So thank you. With that, we will stand adjourned.
Hey, Ortiz said, I used to.